Okay, so we are recording this portion of, oh, my video, is my video?
No, my video is off.
Okay.
We're both Babs Osherman. It just makes life easier.
Okay, I got
Sorry, we're
That's all
recording
right.
this part. We'll turn off the recording when we get to the show and tell so that you guys can chat without us posting it on YouTube.
And one of the things to think about is if there's anything you want to show and tell, you might want to get it if it's not in your hands or on your right beside where you are sitting. So, okay, it is third Thursday in June. I cannot believe that we're almost halfway through the year. It's like we just started this year, it seems to me. That June is actually sort of a strange month for us. It is busy and it is not busy. I don't know how to, it's like, I feel like I've been busy all month.
It's personally busy more than work busy. Everybody seems personally busy.
Right. So, and just so you know, I'm Babs.
I'm Helen.
And so if you've ever called up on the phone and gotten hold of Helen, this is her. Helen has been working with me for 12 years, we're thereabouts. So she knows a lot of everything about a lot of everything, including she's a great knitter. So if you have knitting questions, she is somebody we often will direct you to talk to. Anyway, back to a busy and a quiet month. It is about personal stuff. I've had a lot of doctor's appointments. Other people have had dental doctor's appointments, and we've had a couple of knees worked on. We've had
someone's knee stop working.
Right. And it's just been sort of crazy. And not Arlo, but Oliver had surgery yesterday. So, and we have to wait for the results of the test to see whether we need to go forward with any other treatment. So, let's see. And we've also been doing some 3-day weekends. We will be doing another 3-day weekend this weekend. We'll be off Friday tomorrow, although Helen and I are coming in to do a Zoom with Marie Green. So if you're in the club, we'll be doing a
designer chat with Marie tomorrow.
Right.
Which we'd love for you to join at 11. If you're part of the club, you should have multiple emails with the links, and then we'll send out the email with the secret link for YouTube viewing after.
Right. And then the other thing is that our knit and chat, every other week knit and chat is tomorrow, which we're actually going to do from home. So we'll be knitting and chatting from home as well. And that's at 3:00 till 4:15. And Lynn will actually be leading that, and I'll be joining. Okay. What else is going on this month? Well, or coming up. It's actually nothing. There's not much else happening this month. Except that, well, okay.
A lot of preparation.
Yeah, a lot of preparation, a lot of getting ready. So in early July, the 7th through the 14th, we have 2 trunk shows simultaneously with the Mermaid's Pearl and Skein in the Provincetown area of Rhode Island. These are Bronnie's personal yarn stores.
Her local yarn shops.
Yeah, her local yarn shops. So we'll be doing that. They will both have Yummy 2-ply and Yowza, and then each of them get different yarn bases from there and appropriate samples to go with that. So it's a great place to you can go to both stores and see a lot of different yarns. So that's
I'm
one.
gonna interrupt you quickly. Teresa asked about where to find information about the Yarn and Chat. We had a little link in our newsletter. We will also be posting an Instagram post tomorrow. It's the same as this, I think, where you register and then come in. So that should be around and available, but if you can't find the link, just send us an email to info@missbabs.com and we can send that to you.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. And of course, July is a great month for me, and it starts off wonderful because the 1st of July is my birthday, which, you know,
It's always fun.
yeah. Back when we didn't have digital calendars and everything was, you turned the page and, as we all know, lots of us never changed them until the 4th or the 5th or the 6th day of the month. And my birthday would often get forgotten because, anyway, my husband would often forget my birthday. And so I would tell him, I decided after getting upset a number of times, I decided to start telling him ahead of time. Now, just so you know, next Monday, Tuesday, whatever is my birthday. Just want you to remember that. So I figure if I want something to be remembered, and particularly with the spouses, that you often have to remind them of things. Anyway, so that's that. We will be taking a 4-day weekend that weekend. There will be a colorway for my birthday, and I just saw it for the first time.
Yeah, this year for the first time, you're not dyeing it.
Right. So Ivy, who is my second in command in terms of dyeing and so on, is going to dye that for us. So it's pretty, she did a nice job, really nice job. And let's see, so go ahead.
We had another question about what our trunk shows are like.
Okay.
So we send boxes and boxes and boxes of yarn and samples to a shop. There are about 5 or 6 shops that carry our yarn regularly, and then we do trunk shows with another 5 or 6. If it's a shop that carries our yarn, they'll have 2 or 3 or more times the amount of yarn they normally have. And it's also a way for us to get in contact with people and help out some shops that we don't normally have a wholesale account with,
right?
And get in different parts of the country. So for us, a trunk show is lots of yarn and samples, and you can go see it in person.
And there is another one, but there is one that I do go to, which is the Fiber Space Trunk Show, which is in Alexandria, Virginia, which is I think the 4th weekend in September this year. I can't remember exactly, but
I'll look it up.
It is the weekend,
the 22nd through the 24th.
Okay, 22nd through the 24th. And the week before that is DFW. So anyway, yeah, it's we probably send more on trunk shows than a lot of other dyers do. It's just a way to get yarn into people's hands and for people to really see what is there. So the other evening I did a Zoom chat that was Monday evening with the Greenville, South Carolina Knitters Guild. And so if any of you are members of knitting guilds or fiber guilds and you need programs, I am happy to do programs generally by Zoom for the groups. And so that is something to keep in mind, and that if you're not the program person may be love to know that there's another idea. for how to add another program. And we're in the process of building up our program so that it doesn't, it can be, I can have topics to do for the programs. So, and if you can actually contact us at info@Miss Babs
Or Helen at Miss Babs is
Yes.
where people have been contacting us, because I've been organizing the trunk
Right.
shows.
Yeah, Helen@MissBabs.com is the best way to get that taken care of. And connect with us so that we can create a schedule for that. Also, we have been doing a few more smaller shows, and tied to the Greenville Knitting Guild, they do a knit in show in early February. So we're going to be joining them this year to do the and have a,
I think we asked for 2 booths.
yeah, 2 booths, and we'll do it essentially, my guess is that it'll be similar to a trunk
Right.
show in terms of the quantity of yarn that we take, as opposed to what you might see at Rhinebecker, Maryland. And so we'll be doing that. And very exciting, we have been added to the Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle that is coming up in August on the 4th through the 6th. So this is a new area of the country for us to get to. And this actually, it's not exactly tied to the fact that XRX has now gone out of business, but it is, because we no longer will have Stitches West
Right.
to go to. So we're looking to make connections in other ways, but we'll be going to the Flock Fiber Festival and taking lots of yarn and, you know.
Yeah, we're excited. I think it's a brand new show this year,
Yeah.
so
Right.
it'll be fun figuring out how to do that one.
Right, exactly. And coming back to XRX Stitches, if you, you may or may not know that they've gone out of business. But if you have signed up for any classes with them, you need to contact your credit card company in order to try to get some or all of your money back from them. And
so my understanding is that your credit card comes with purchase insurance,
Right.
and if you contact them, they should reimburse all of your money, regardless of if they get anything back from Stitches. But you need to do it sooner rather than later.
right. Because there's a time frame
Yeah.
within which to make that claim. So, you know, I hope you don't have anything outstanding with them, but and I'm grateful that we don't.
Yeah, but
So
we've seen that, people are still hearing about it, and we just wanted to do our bit to share the news to people who
Right.
may not have heard yet.
right.
It is sad that they've closed. They've been such a massive part of the community for years,
Right.
but things happen.
Yes, yes. So what is new in terms of actual knitting and what's going on for us? In the Waves KAL came out actually yesterday, but it is by Stephanie Lotvin, and Helen is going to drop the link into the chat for you. And it's a very sweet KAL, and it's a quick knit. It's also a great way to start your fall knitting. I'm actually thinking I'm going to knit one for the beginning of my Colorado family
Gift box.
Yeah, the gift box I send to family out in Colorado. I have a I don't know, probably about 20 people out in Colorado. And so I just sort of send a whole bunch of things, hats, KALs, out to them. And because they can always use something like that. And so it's a good way to start building those up.
And as always, we've had fun pulling colors and putting sets together. So this one is Sun-Kissed. This is one of the original colors combinations that Stephanie put together. And this one is Maritime Moods. And there's a photo of this knit up on the pattern page. And then this one is Radiant Horizon. And it's a lot of my favorite fall shades, but we've got more beachy ones and all kinds of different combinations, or you can pick your own.
Right. And yeah, it's easy to put together using the compare.
Compare colors.
Yeah, the compare colors feature on the website. And you can, pull a number of colors and see how they go together. And oh my, I bet some of you have some toes in your stash. So,
or leftover
right.
partial skeins or
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I realized I was sorting stash the other day. I have almost an entire bin of Yummy 2-ply leftovers outside of my other entire bin of other Bits Babs base leftovers. I really need to do some scrappy projects.
Oh, Helen. Okay.
I like yarn.
I know you do. I know you do. So, other things that are coming up. I'm sure that most of you have heard about the 4-day sweater knit along with Marie Green, and that is going to be starting soon. She has put out the placeholder for the pattern on Ravelry, so you can go and buy that placeholder if you choose to, and the pattern will be delivered on the 1st of July. This is not a mystery. This is the sweater, which is a nice summer tee, and it was she knit it with damask, which is our silk linen yarn, which is the only yarn that we have that is not, it doesn't have a wool component in it. And so it's great for summer tees. We've knit, I think all of us have knit a summer tee or a summer shawl in it. It's the nice, it's a nice lightweight without being too heavy. So that's coming up. Coming up in July is a new pattern by Melanie Berg, and she's in the process of doing test knitting. And I think Helen put the link for that in the.
No, but I will do.
Okay.
Hold on.
She did show a picture on Instagram for that. So if you want to go take a look at it. So it uses this set, and it's the Mojave Flora. And if some of you were in the club last year, this was one of the options, and you may actually have it in your stash if you didn't knit the pattern. And then she uses 2 full-size skein of 2 different colors. So this is it's called Beachy Keen, and it's coming, and we are busy putting together some other gradient sets and combinations.
Yes, we will be making more in the wave sets. We actually put up 4 new sets today. Right. And we'll probably make a few more next week when we're back in the studio. We'll also be putting pre-orders on the ones that have already sold out.
Right.
I need to check that again.
Right. Absolutely. So,
and we've also made a couple of other new gradients for the Melanie Berg kit, which we're excited to release. And the other fun thing is we're planning a knit along, which we will have more details about for this pattern. And we're also planning a Zoom chat with Melanie on Saturday, July 8th,
Right,
which is a couple of days after the pattern comes out. So we'll again be sending an email with links for those things.
yeah, a newsletter with the links, yeah,
Once we have more information about the knit along and it's closer to the date of the
Right.
Zoom.
right. So the knit along it will include us from the studio, and so we'll be talking about it, and it's
Helping with any fiddly bits.
or questions or thoughts or that sort of thing. So, and of course, planning never ends here. So we've been talking to Casapinka and Sharon, of course.
Very important part of the team.
Right. And about her mystery knit along, which will be coming in early August, but she actually starts talking about it sometime in early July.
Yeah.
And we're also talking to Lisa Ross about what's coming in the fall because she usually does a mystery knit along. So
we had a question about kits for the newest shawl by Lisa Ross, which I think uses 2 skeins of a full color and then 6 very small amounts of the contrast colors. So we won't be putting together particular kits for that. I was actually talking with someone earlier today, and she said she was thinking of using one of the mini bundles of 10 colors and just keeping 4 out for a future project, or else looking at a gradient set and again just having a fair bit of extra yarn for another thing.
right. But I think she's right that the one of the mini bundles would actually be a good way to get that's because it really doesn't use much of the contrast colors.
Yeah, it's like less than 60 yards each, I think. So
right. So it so 2 full size skeins of one same color, and then 6 small 60 yards.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So at this point, unless we have some questions.
I think I've been catching the questions, but if you put one in and I haven't answered it, please put it in again. It's a little harder to keep track of the questions when I'm also in front of the camera. Much easier when I'm sitting over there just paying attention to the chat.
So I'm actually going to have Helen lead this part of the technique corner. And so she is
I'm first going to say someone has been looking at Yummy Duos for the West Knit sock knit along. We don't generally recommend Yummy 2-ply for socks. It's not as durable as you generally want. I mean, I have knit socks knit and they're all right, but they're going to wear through more quickly than our other sock yarns. So if you're wanting to use our yarn for the sock knit along, we'd be happy to help you put together colors in. Okay, fair enough if you love your Yummy socks, but we can help you pick colors in Putnam or in Tart, which are our favorite sock yarns.
Right.
Okay, so technique corner. We thought today we'd talk about knots and joining skeins, because as much as we would all love endless skeins with no knots, that's just not the way spinning yarn tends to work. So we actually have a video resources page on our website with close-up videos, professionally made videos of all of these techniques that we're going to talk about, but we're just going to go through the pros and cons of the different techniques and when you might choose one over the other. So starting with the Russian join, which is when
actually my favorite. Yeah.
You make a loop in one end, make a loop in the other end that passes through it, and then pull them tight so that you really can't pull the 2 strands apart. It is great. It is super secure. It will make a little bit of a thickness there. So I tend to use that with lace knitting or with things that are slippery where I worry that another technique might not be as secure. Spit splicing is great for anything feltable. It really does work better with spit. There's some enzyme or something that really makes a difference. There have been studies.
Yes, as opposed to water.
But you can use water. And if you've eaten something recently, that may definitely be a better choice because you don't want to. Anyway, we'll leave it there. My general technique is the leaving tails and weaving in ends. It's work at the end, but it's very secure and it doesn't really show on the front end, which some of the other
Right.
techniques do. So I'm a bit persnickety and I'd rather take a bit of extra time at the end and have a bump on the back and a very nice flat front part. The easiest way is probably holding the ends overlapping of your two yarns and knitting an inch or two with both tails. But that of course makes a bump on both sides because you're doubling the yarn. So again, that's something that will be less noticeable in thinner weights and more noticeable.
And works when you're matching, the colors are
Yes.
matching.
Yes, not something you necessarily want to do if you're adding a totally different color, unless you're marling or don't mind
Right.
a bit of blending there. There's the technique of catching the ends as you knit, like you would do with color work knitting. I think Stephen West has a bunch of videos about this and has dubbed it the Weave and Steven technique.
Right.
That's probably one of my least favorite ones. It definitely has the benefit of keeping things tucked in and tidy as you go and preventing all of the finishing that sometimes prevents people from actually finishing a project once they've done
Right.
the knitting.
Right.
But it's not as secure and it can look a bit messy. So always trade-offs with these things. And finally, Veronica added a note that we don't recommend just tying knots in your knitting and moving on. They can shift, they can move, they may not stay where you put them. It's really better to try some other technique and weave the ends in properly somehow.
Right. And that knot always comes up.
Yeah, it'll wiggle through to the front and then you'll be sad later. And if you don't
Right.
leave a long enough tail, there's not
Right.
much you can do after that.
Yeah, I'm working on a hat right now, actually designing a pattern, sort of like my Mash It Up hat. It'll be a free pattern down, and this uses a mini bundle. I've already finished one, but basically I just am knitting a single stitch of each color together, and then when I come around, I haven't finished it on this side, but I will be doing where I knit down into the stitch below.
The jogless join.
Yes, for a jogless join. So, I mean, there's a little bit of a jog, but it's not significant. So, there are lots of different ways to do this, and it looks better in the finished item. And so,
yeah, I'm working on my traditional, oh shoot, how is it June? Belated Father's Day present. And I've just left the ends there and I'll weave them in after the fact, which is
right.
what I tend to do with these kinds of
Right.
things. And with color changing there, you can also wriggle a bit when you're weaving the ends to make the join more invisible.
Right. Exactly.
Which is my lazy woman's jogless join.
Okay. So any questions about how to join?
Or anything else?
Right. One of the other things that you didn't talk about, and we probably don't have a video, is where you cut. So if you've got a 2 or 3 ply, you cut one of the plies off and
That's how I tend to spit splice.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll cut them so that the finished spit splice isn't terribly much thicker than the
Right.
rest. So if it's a 3 ply, I'll cut 1 ply from each strand, overlap that part and splice.
Right. Exactly.
But I guess you could also do that with a not spit spliceable and just knit the ends.
Exactly.
Again, as a way of minimizing the bulk there.
Right. And I've done that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What do we recommend for silk? Russian join.
Yeah,
would be really good for silk. It's great when you've got something that's slippery because it's very secure. When you weave it back through itself, it's really not going to come out. And you want to weave an inch or two. I am not one that thinks little tiny join because I really don't want it to come out later.
Right.
And so go in and out. And again, I've put that link in there, or if you scroll to the bottom of our website, there's a video resources link.
And as you can see, I leave long tails so that I can have an option, so that I don't have to worry about, having, do I have enough to work with when I put it on a needle? Now, I did manage to knit a couple of one color in, so
Well,
it's
that's
really
exciting.
short, but anyway,
We can get that sorted.
yeah. So anyway, so unless there's anything else or other questions, we're going to end the recording now.
What type of join for damask? Again, maybe a Russian join,
Right,
or maybe weaving in the ends after.
right. Depends on where it is.
Right, if it's somewhere that's not right out front, a Russian join would be good. If it's somewhere quite noticeable, weave in the ends, it'll be a little bit more subtle.
Right. The other thing that Marie was talking about so depending on how many skeins, the question of alternating skeins. When we talked to Marie last week about this, she used one skein down to here and then switched to another skein here. So she didn't end up having to do alternating. So when you have the change in texture, that's often a good place to change skeins.
Absolutely. If
So-
you think they're close enough that it's not going to make
Right.
a big difference, or if you don't mind if it does.
Right, but the damask actually matches really nicely.
Yeah.
And part of it is because of the
Linen rejecting the dye.
right, exactly. So,
All right, well, I'm going to end the recording now, and then we can do our show and tell portion. Where is the recording?